Hey, welcome to a special edition of the Masters of Boredom. We're going to be playing The Gate of Roulier, which is currently in Kickstarter, and we're really excited about. My name's Aaron. So I am really excited about this game because I managed to play it at last year's UBCon, and it was an absolute blast. People were throwing accusations back and forth, and it was just so much fun. I was so excited when the Kickstarter came out that I actually went for the higher I don't know, not a donation level, but you know what I mean. I went for the package that actually is going to put me in the game, so I'm super stoked about that. But I'm also stoked to play it with the actual creator and show it here. So I'm really excited for it. I love secret identity games, so let's get to it. I'm ready. Let's go.
I'm Dan, and I'm here against my will.
I don't know what to expect. I've never played this before, and these people have kidnapped me. They said something about I designed this game, but I don't even know what they're talking about. So they put me down in a chair, they tie me up, and then they make me play this game.
Hi, I'm Crystal.
I've played these kinds of games before. I'm not great at them unless I'm the bad guy, usually.
I'm CJ. All right, we're playing the who's who of mystery games, and while I enjoy this type of gameplay, I don't always do so well. Like when I'm Hitler, sometimes I tell people before it's time to tell them, and in games like Coup and that, I'm usually a little too boisterous about my role, and I'm not necessarily the captain. So we'll see how this goes. I'm really excited.
I'm Jessie.
So this game is a secret identity game. I've played them in the past, and typically I always get the good guy card. I never get the bad guy card, and I always distrust Aaron every game.
I'm Dave. I've played secret identity games before, and I'm pretty confident in playing them. I might not be the best at them, but I do have fun with them.
And The Gate of Roulier is a really interesting secret identity game that I'm super excited to show you guys. So why don't we get to it?
You have the pocket watch. You can decide what we're going after.
Yes. Does she get to look at her cards first?
She probably should, but
Should probably see what me we're
cultists
doing.
wouldn't care. But if you do care, I can help with Nodens a lot, which is the B-shaped thing. I mean a lot.
So we all have a secret role. Some of us are investigators, and two of us are not investigators. We're cultists.
Yeah.
But we're from different cults, so we
Those
don't
are
know.
the bad people, right?
Those are the bad people.
Okay.
It depends on if you're a cultist or not.
It's always
Cultist
Aaron.
villains rarely see themselves as bad people.
It's
so.
very
It's
true.
misunderstood.
Just a little misunderstood.
So 4 of us are trying to save the world, and 2 of us are trying to end it.
We have until midnight because
And the two don't know who they are.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're from different cults. We have till midnight because, you know,
That's when bad things happen.
that's bad things.
That's just when.
Gate will fail if we do not reinforce it.
I was going to say, and it's my bedtime. So
Oh.
yeah, I got
Whether you're culting or investigating, it's time for bed.
It's time to go, you know.
Yeah, well, so, feeling the pressure?
Yeah.
Let's start saving the world.
New game without actually knowing how to play, other than sitting down 5 minutes beforehand, explaining it. Kind of terrifying. But the game wasn't that bad.
All right, let's go for that one.
Oh,
Yeah.
didn't really care what our input was.
Sorry.
Yeah.
She's like, I have
That's
this game
interesting.
handled. That is very interesting.
Okay.
First, I got the investigator. I was a little bit happy because it's the first time playing, and I was happy that I didn't have to be a cultist right away. So that was a plus.
Okay.
Did I mention I could help with Nodens a lot?
Can
I
absolutely,
did
I
hear
can
that.
absolutely work with this.
I thought
I can
I
absolutely work with this.
Because
And
you're
now
the
you
cultist,
take one of your-
so of course you can work
well,
with
4
it. If you're the
actions.
cultist, you can work with everything.
You
Oh,
cannot
that's true.
accuse someone of being a cultist till 6 o'clock or later. It's actually there to protect people against themselves.
Very
'Cause
fair
they
enough.
think they're playing another game of this ilk and they just start accusing and don't realize if they're wrong, they lose 2 hours and it's,
Yeah.
oh, we got a lot of time.
That puts a real crunch on it too, because it's already 6 o'clock when you make a false accusation.
Yeah, you don't want to get
But
it wrong.
here, it feels like you have a lot of time. You don't have a lot of time.
No, that's not a lot of rounds.
All right, go ahead and put in your card because that's what you chose, so clearly,
Yeah, totally.
Clearly, that's what she's doing.
yeah,
Cultist Crystal.
despite,
And then she gets to perform an action.
no, that is
Oh,
her
that is-
action.
that
is
is
to
what she gets to
contribute.
do.
So she can contribute. Your choice is you could also contribute, although you might not have one of the cards since she never asked.
Yeah, she did not get my input.
You could research, which you can discard some cards and get new cards. You can gamble, take 2 cards off the deck, look at them, play one and discard the other face down. Or you can investigate, which seems a little early.
Yeah.
You have a 50-50 shot of seeing the bad card she put in.
Yeah.
Those are your choices.
I'm the villain! Who doesn't like being the villain? Other players generally, but that's okay because I love being the villain. The big difference with this game is there's one other villain. I don't know who it is. And that's going to be a problem. So the strategy for me, accuse somebody. I have a 1 in 5 chance of not accusing the other cultist. We're just going to pick somebody and hammer them down and see if we can get other people to turn on them, and hopefully it's not the other cultist. I think I'm going to research, actually. So these go face down?
Yep.
Okay.
We can't know that you're throwing out 3 of these.
Right. I'm just
Well,
going to
you're
get rid of
throwing
one.
out Okay.
I am positive that that one is not going to help.
And here's your insanity.
Fantastic.
I failed to mention, you draw insanity whenever you research and delve into the occult. So when you
Oh,
research,
there's a little card.
That does
there.
tend to happen when you're reading
yeah,
things
when you
that...
investigate, and if you make an accusation and don't have enough supporting votes, you draw an insanity because clearly you're paranoid.
Oh, so if the vote fails, you can go a little bit
Yeah.
more insane.
Not if
Trust
you're-
me.
Not if you're wrong. Not if you're wrong, but only if you don't
only
get
if the
enough
vote
votes.
fails, yeah.
This time I picked up my card and I was the bad guy. And yeah, I just kind of closed my eyes at that point.
Wow.
Jesse contributes.
I'm a
Very
good
gently
contributor.
and quietly.
So in this game, I was one of the investigators. So of course, I'm suspicious of everybody at the table. I don't care if you're an investigator or not, you might be incompetent. I only trust me. So I'm looking to see like, okay, I know what card I put in. When it comes back around, if I do investigate, is that card still in there? Is it gone? If people are saying, oh, it's really bad, is it really, really bad? Or is it only kind of bad? Who's it bad for? Just things like that. So trust no one.
Yeah, that's usually how it happens.
So I am an investigator, which it blew my mind, because every time we play a secret identity game, I am always the bad guy. This is like the one time I turned out not to be. So I know it's not necessarily skewed my way. So I'm going to have to be on top of my game if I'm going to catch these cultists at it and call them out, get them out of here. I'm going to investigate.
Please do.
Can you pile those up for me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Hand them this way. I will shuffle them up nice and
Secretly.
neat. Shuffle them up nice and neat, and then I take one of them out because I don't get to look at all of them. I don't get to look at that one.
All
Did
right.
you leave your phone on so when Cthulhu calls, you can take the call?
Oh
Yes, Lord, it's me.
my God.
How's it
Okay,
going?
so I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that there's 2 cultists.
That's some strong accusations for the first round.
It is.
Why are you saying
God.
that? Because there's a Haster in there?
Okay, I have to do this. Okay, so I
Well, one of them could have
replaced
been
the card and then
The random card could be.
I discard the other card, or does it go into my hand?
swap. You swap it into
Oh,
your hand.
great, so I get to hang on to that, that's great.
It may come in handy
And
later.
I get an insanity because I chose to investigate.
Yes. So how many successes are in there now?
There are at least 2. There is at least 1 non-success.
So he said.
Very non-success.
So there were 2 non-successes. You took one out and put in one.
Yes.
That's
as
the
it
kind of thing a
stands-
cultist would say.
Are you investigating as well?
I am investigating. I just wanted to get.
That's the best way to find out who's telling the truth right there.
I'm being dead honest.
If you believe me, it is.
So I was a little resistant at first, but I saw I was an investigator, so I thought, what the heck, we'll give it a try.
What he says at this point appears to be true.
Also interesting.
There are now 3 successes, and tick, the clock ticks down an hour.
All right, cultist Crystal, what you gonna do? I don't have anything in my opening hand that can hurt this. I could slow ball it and put a card in, but I don't want to reveal myself too early. I'm going to stick to a strategy of just trying to get someone else in trouble. I choose Crystal.
I'm gonna contribute again.
First one didn't stick, so she's.
Yeah.
There's a reason I picked this one.
I know. Well aware.
So it starts out, seems pretty clear from the glare I give Jessie. Maybe she's the suspicious type. And then Crystal seems a little uncomfortable to my left, so I was kind of on those two right away, I guess.
I am fortunate enough to be able to contribute as well.
Lots of
I
memes going on over
had a
here.
good draw despite the insanity I
So if
incurred.
there's 4 of this symbol, we're okay, but if there's 4 of this symbol and 1 of those, that'll subtract out 1 of the goods, and it won't be okay. So if you don't have this symbol, which would be
So I
shocking,
have to play it here
and it's
face
gotta be
up.
face up, so,
No, it's not.
That's what's facing.
oh, it can be face down, so you can stay true to your,
Why would
that's
you
dirty.
laugh about that?
That's dirty.
Why would you laugh about that if you weren't the cultist?
Because
There
you
can only be
already think
two.
I am, so what's the point?
So who shuffles them up in
well, the
face?
person that triggered the incantation can shuffle them up and reveal
Cultist
what I
Jessica
suspect to
and
now be
Cultist Crystal?
a failure.
So the first it comes around, I'm still trying to figure out this game and figure out how to play it. However, I totally tried to put a card in there that wasn't what we needed. And by the time it came back around to me, everyone had fixed the problem. So, and when we got to the last hand, I actually had all of the cards that matched what we were looking for. So at that point, like I could have just done a research or something to delay it, but I decided let's just get this one round over, and I still have plenty of time.
I feel like
Actually, I
Someone's
could've just
a
played
screw in
it.
we're
this.
in trouble.
You weren't in trouble. I threw down the right symbol.
We're about to find out.
I
Yeah,
should've
we'll
just
find out one
shown
way or the
you.
other.
The right,
Yes,
All
yeah.
right,
the
so
symbol
I
to
just
your
flip
right,
these
you mean?
over then.
That's what you meant, the symbol to your right?
That was the C thing.
Is that the SE thing?
Oh.
That's
I
a
put
good
that in.
start.
So polar opposite,
Huh?
3 successes,
We need 5 now.
4 successes,
5.
and the one you put in.
Oh. And you all thought.
Or she's just trying to throw us off the
That's right.
scent. So the first gate went fairly smoothly, which, having played these games before, I expected, because only an amateur gives himself away the first play.
This is a possibility too. We have successfully sealed 1.
That gate went surprisingly smoothly. Like, not a lot of issues, didn't have to investigate a whole lot. I don't know if the cultists are slow playing or if they don't really know what they're doing yet. It could be one or the other, but either way, 1 down, 3 to go. So let's keep at it.
See, this
Woohoo!
is how easy
1 down,
this is.
3 to go.
So you
Yeah.
discard, and now you're going to choose, it's your turn, so you choose the new target.
In the first round, the first gate closed really easily. Classic mistake, because most every social deduction game, you never screw up the first round. Well, this one, you can get away with it, and they didn't do it, because there's enough cards in there that no one would ever, it's hard to tell who messes it up, and so it's okay to mess things up early.
You can take input from some of us. I can
I
help
could
a lot with
really
no.
help, I could really help with Haster, the opposite one. Because I swapped one out, now I got a couple in my hand.
that's
that could
true.
Do some good.
What say you, Chris?
Not saying
I
that.
got,
He's afraid to,
yeah.
after he played his polar opposite, he's not.
I'm gonna say, give me some Nodens, but if they can't help you with that, then I guess, I don't know what the better option would be.
I would be 0
cards.
help
I
with
have
those.
1 card.
Yeah.
Well, first off, I guess we should put a seed in there.
Yep.
Yeah, no matter what, we gotta put a blank card in there.
If the incantation succeeds, gain 1 hour. If it fails, lose 1 hour. That's
It
That's
might be a little
that's what
risky,
they
but
want me to go on.
I'm telling you, I can really speed this one along.
Yeah, I can't help with Haster.
Don't pick the B.
Good.
They don't pick the B.
It's like you guys can investigate and take out the bad symbols, assuming you're.
Well, I'll see what happens on
But I'm
Haster.
Gonna
fairly
go with
certain.
Haster?
I'll
Okay.
see what happens.
Haster it is.
All right,
I
Haster
can always
is-
investigate on my turn.
Sure.
True.
The world's about to end. It's a good time for experimentation.
I'm gonna go to the library.
Let's see
Sounds
what
beautiful.
happens.
You know,
How do you get more cards in this game?
research.
Research and go insane.
Yeah, I go insane.
I am going to use my Tarsoid Psalms and contribute 2 cards into the incantation instead of 1.
Oh, you really can help.
Yep.
Or you know,
For
turn
2.
us.
Well, if you'd like to investigate, be my guest.
And where does this
Oh.
discard go now then?
Discards are face down here.
No, it's because it's special.
Oh,
Increase
that comes out of the
cards
play. Oh.
really fast.
That's on forever.
Oh, mercy.
Well, someone should check this mess out.
I'll investigate. So I get to
Pick them up.
pick them up?
Pick them up. You got to put one back before you look at any of them. So
Okay.
Shuffle
them
them.
up.
One there. All right, and then you get to look at these and swap it out with one of my cards?
You may
So
swap
you
it
may
out.
swap
You may
one.
swap. May swap. Let's see.
Because maybe it's just so good that you don't have to.
Sure, pretty good.
For who?
I
No,
told you.
we're cool. We're cool. I am gonna
You're-
leave
You're
it.
leaving that alone.
I'm gonna leave it alone.
How cool were we? Like, are we super cool? Like,
Oh,
even a bad someone
As,
couldn't.
as, other than the random one I don't know, we are 100% cool.
Okay.
All right, Jesse, what you do?
All right. Oh, and I get an insanity for that.
I cannot help this nightmare at all.
Yeah, I couldn't help either, so that's why.
You did not pick the one that I had.
Well, you have other options.
Some research.
You can gamble if you're feeling frisky.
Add random
And
symbols.
that doesn't add insanity.
Well, if Chris is telling the truth, even if I put one down, we should be fine then.
Yeah,
correct?
plenty. Yeah, plenty.
Well, let's gamble. What is this? All right, draw 2 cards.
Yep.
And
You
I'll
have to-
show people, and then
You
I play
have to
one
play
of them.
one of them. You must play
Oh
one
no,
of
I
them.
drew 2 polar opposites.
Yeah, what a chance.
I was about ready to say, like, oh my gosh, I did.
What we got there?
Nothing that's going to help. I drew everything but. So,
Well, just don't put a polar opposite.
Or a
but
beast,
what if I want to?
please. No beast.
If you want to, then you're exposing yourself as a cultist. Not that I have an issue with you exposing yourself.
Whoa.
Exposing myself how?
I'm frisky.
Your profession, speaking of your profession.
Okay. All right. I can take that.
You
That's
trigger
not
once
a polar
again.
opposite.
This might be the second one you succeeded.
Oh, I put this one in too?
Sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, we already
We
know what it is,
but
but lay them out for us, Jessica.
So we need-
You don't have to shuffle.
we need 4
This is the
Hastur
only one.
You
symbols.
do.
You should.
4 Hastur symbols with no take-backsies. 1. That
Doesn't
hurt.
matter.
Doesn't hurt,
One
but it's
she
not
put
great.
in. 2 and a beast. 3,
4,
4.
5.
We good.
Yeah,
we
that's
good.
what I said. We were
We
waiting.
good.
This game's easy.
Oh man, speeding right along.
We have some very.
I don't see what the risk is with this whole demonic overlord.
We must have some very
Well,
patient
it's either that or we got
cultists.
some slow playing cultists. Everybody gets an insanity for that one?
There was a beast in the incantation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Didn't we get a bonus for Hastur? Or do we
Yeah,
get like
you get an hour back.
We get an hour back. Heck yeah.
Hooray!
If this is only text, I have to show it to everybody pretty much?
Yes.
If it doesn't say
What's
secret
wrong
on
with
the
you?
bottom.
I can only accuse male characters.
Yeah, you're safe.
Now
Well,
that
you're
characters or
safe.
players?
Characters.
Characters.
All right, so.
So,
Oh, I have
Everybody
no
else is
idea.
playing male, so you can't accuse Crystal of anything.
Otherwise, I'd say.
But we already know.
Sure.
Crystal's like, eh.
Okay.
So, one issue that I had was I pulled up an insanity that said I could not suspect a female character, which the only person that had a female character was Crystal. And she was one of the only 2 that I suspected, which made things really, really bad for me because I'm like, well, the person that I really think might be a cultist, I can't out. But if somebody else had suggested, then I could have voted yes. But that never came up.
Dave, again, you are.
He can still vote yes.
I just can't accuse you.
So what's your, do you have an effect to announce?
No, I don't.
I have one. After contributing, I choose another player to take an insanity card.
Ooh, dirty.
Yeah.
Is that a one-time effect?
Oh, what are we targeting?
Yep, you gotta pick a new god. There's only
I
2
have
left.
Like 1 card in my hand. So let's go with the Innerd.
Dender?
Dender.
The innards.
The innards, what?
Okay, this one triggers at the 6th card, which is face down, and then the 7th comes in randomly.
Okay.
All right.
Should be fine.
That should, yeah.
All right.
Well,
My
I'm
response were
helping.
all contributory.
All right. I can't help with what I got, so I'm gonna research and discard this last card and draw 3 new ones.
And some crazy.
And probably
some crazy.
And probably some crazy.
Have a touch of crazy.
All right.
He has 3 secret crazies. I'm a little concerned.
Tick. There's nothing secret about my crazy.
I have no cards, so I'm gonna have to research.
You're skipping.
No, he already
No,
took
you
that
are.
one.
Fast.
He kind of knows how to play this game since he invented
Made
it.
it.
Yeah, he's like, I already
He
got my
might
turn, we're good.
be ahead of
You
the
might
game.
have an idea.
Yeah.
I'm gonna help out. I can actually help with this one. I actually have a card to contribute this time to sandbag the efforts a little bit. Dave's gonna investigate every time the cards come around. That's just Dave, but he's with me on the whole crystal thing. And because she goes right before me, I kind of have an alibi. But I don't have enough cards to really negate the good cards in there, so I'm just gonna keep on the ploy, and I don't wanna start accusing a second person yet, because if we do, it might oust me.
Me too.
Uh-huh.
Dave, do you want to investigate?
I'm
Because
gonna
if you
investigate.
put a
Yeah,
card
like
in,
I
if
said,
you trigger,
Can I investigate, saying as I have no cards in my hand?
Sure, you just can't swap.
You just
out
can't
anything.
swap.
So I'll
So
speak-
you'll know, you'll know if we're
you
screwed.
can tell us if we're screwed, and then I can take appropriate action.
I'm going to investigate and get
A wise move, probably.
Yeah, yeah, because
Everyone was a little too quick to
Yeah.
help out.
who contributed? You did. You didn't.
I did.
I did, and I know what I put
And I
in.
didn't. So it's the 4 of you.
I tried to get every card in there, but I kept failing because everyone kept catching me and taking out my bad cards and putting in good ones.
Oh, pull one back, face down.
No. Yeah, don't look
Put
at
the
all.
top one up because I didn't see it.
All right.
Good man.
All right. Well,
Is life good, Dave?
no.
Life's not good?
Life is very
Life
bad.
is very
Okay,
bad.
that's what I need.
I
to
get a
hear.
feeling that the one that I put back is the one that I put in,
Oh God!
and ergo, it's the only correct one.
Oh,
Oh.
So Dave says.
And by the time it got to me, everything was bad. And people were like, oh, I'm helping. But the fact that it got to me and there was no helping, again, I'm suspicious of everybody. Either you're an incompetent investigator or you're a really good cultist. But that took us a couple of rounds and then everything went smooth. Maybe like 3 rounds around, like people were like, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to be trying to sabotage us. But it was a bunch of opposite systems, opposite symbols, horrible. I'm not sure how to unscrew this situation.
You
Well,
have
you
no
can't
cards,
swap
so you
anything.
can't
I can't
tell.
swap anything, but so, yeah, unless 3 people swap the correct thing out, this thing gonna fail.
That's a lot more.
That's too many
insanity.
cultists, though.
Not really. 2 cultists and a polar op and a random seed.
Well, there's
Oh.
3 polar opposites.
That's true.
I guess the
That's-
random could have been bad.
So if the random's bad, and the other, the 2 are still bad. So,
Okay.
so I don't know how much I trust any of y'all.
Put them all back. Did you take your insanity card?
No,
Not yet.
you can
Have,
work it out.
have an insanity
This
card.
insanity will, uh-oh,
It's a secret.
okay.
All right. I'm going to investigate. A, to make sure Dave's not pulling the wool over our eyes, and B, to swap those out if he's not pulling the wool over our
There is
eyes.
no wool in the eyes here.
All right, Aaron.
Thank you.
This is
One,
100%
two,
beholder
one,
level of weeby bone.
It's just one of 4 gates. What's the big deal if we leave it open a crack?
This gate was a little bit more contentious. It was a little bit more difficult. I think the cultists were either coming into their own or they were just becoming more brazen. I'm not sure either way. My gut tells me that it is Crystal and Jesse, and I don't know if that's casual sexism on my part, and if so, I'm really sorry. I try to avoid that kind of thing, but it just seemed that way. And it didn't help that CJ was pointing that way, and for whatever reason, I trusted him. So I went along with it because Jessie was super shifty, but I'm not going to lay anything on her just yet, not until I get a little bit more evidence. And then I'll look at these and, yeah, you're not kidding. I will take that out and put that in its place, but
But
we
the problem
need
is the fact that
more
there's
help.
2 people.
We-
and
Just
we
because
still
you're
need
switching out
more.
cards doesn't mean you're helping.
You
Right.
can't hurt it at this point.
You can't make it
Can't
any
make it
worse.
worse.
Considering what I saw, it would have been hard to make that worse.
And
That's
saying
kinda
as
scary.
the rest of the table
Well,
is
it tells me
who
what
put
I need
them.
to know.
So I can accuse males.
The only person you can't accuse Dave is Crystal.
Just
We've
trying to
already
say.
been over that.
You were researching?
I am researching. Okay.
I guess I'm gonna have to investigate.
Tick. 6 o'clock.
I was not shocked that I was assumed to be a cultist because I've played games with everyone before, and that's what happens. I was a little bit confused because the first round went real easy, which, if you're playing this game, doesn't usually happen all the time. I also have an insanity effect.
She didn't put any of those
where
cards in.
When investigating, see one fewer card. So.
Oh, no.
Appropriate
Well,
for a
sorry.
cultist to be a bad investigator.
it's exactly the thing a cultist would say.
I mean, it's gotten better from what I can see.
This is tense. We're investigating like crazy. Dave has found 3 bat symbols, like it's nuts. And there's only 4 people who put in cards. So it's one of those 4 people, which narrows it down to Dan, CJ, Jesse, and Dave. So I'm starting to think maybe Crystal's not a cultist. Maybe I had it wrong.
It's only a flesh wound.
Till I make this motion here. It's a magic trick.
Better from whose side?
Abracadabra, you're screwed.
Well, these 2 are gonna stay, and I'm gonna swap out with this one.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I also get an insanity for doing that.
More insanity.
I liked how everyone was investigating because I couldn't investigate very well because I got the insanity card, which made one less card I could look at, so I was a little handicapped. So when everyone else was investigating, I was trying to decipher if they were telling the truth or not, because at one point I had put down a good card and investigated, and everything seemed okay. And then it came to the other side of the table, and everyone's like, "The world's ending. The world's ending." And I'm like, "But it was okay at one point."
Let's see what happens now.
Well,
What happens
I
now?
don't get to vote.
What?
So you don't get to vote and you don't get to investigate well.
Unless the Necronomicon is active, she doesn't get to vote and her vote doesn't count. So she no longer counts towards the majority. So it's a
Interesting.
majority of 5 now instead of 6.
That is interesting.
I feel like such a female right
So
now.
no
My vote doesn't
ties.
count.
I
So true.
You're getting man-speaked to all around.
I can't,
I don't know how to pluralize that. Man-spoken doesn't sound right.
it does. I can't help, so,
Man super spleen?
Super spleen.
Man super
super spleen?
Superman
Can you get a
spleen.
super splenectomy? Anyhow.
It sounds bad no matter how you slice it.
CJ, what you got?
I can't help. I'm gonna gamble.
Are you for real?
What?
Let's just.
Why would you gamble?
Because he's a cultist.
It triggers at this one this
Oh.
time.
Yeah.
So-
And if you
It's
draw
a super
2 bad
double secret
cards,
gamble.
You
'cause
can
then
get
this
some
card
more
comes in.
cards.
Oh, okay, so we shouldn't do this, is what you're saying. Should I just research
You
them?
can get some more cards.
Yeah, I guess I'll just research.
Get some more crazy.
I'm not sure who my other secret teammate is at this point, and that is making this game incredibly hard. I'll just.
That's a
This
discard.
That's
Oh, it's this card. But those are the better cards.
No.
I'm willing to take the
I know
cards that
that.
people aren't willing to keep.
That.
I know cultists tend to
Dad.
see things in the inverse.
That's what I do.
What's Jesse doing?
Jesse has no cards, so she should probably research, and apparently I get to.
So the 3rd round comes around, and I realize that I really suck as a cultist. And I'm really feeling at this point that I'm the only one out there. I know that the game is set up that you're supposed to have a second one, but I really feel that I was it. Because every single time that I would try to make the course of action change, it never happened.
Do you shuffle the discard to get her a 3rd card? Or?
Yes. But I was going to say I have a good one after I researched.
Yeah, if it comes around to me, I can, oh,
I
never mind,
have
never
no
mind, I should not.
cards.
I should not. That's right, I swapped a bad one out, never mind.
Yeah.
There's a bad one in my hand. It'll be good next, God. but not for this one.
I need 3 cards and insanity, because I have no
Oh,
cards.
God,
so I cannot
guys.
help.
As we progress, seems like Dave's doing a lot of investigating and he's gradually losing his mind. But maybe that's just how Dave is.
I can't finish it off with what I got.
I can't help either.
I can.
What can I do?
I see what
was
fewer
very
of
like,
those cards
I
when I
certainly
investigate.
I don't want to investigate. No, I do want to investigate. I'm going to investigate. Hand me those.
What's different?
I'm just not going to swap. Because what's in my hand is garbage, but I'm going to have a look and see if there's
Okay.
Has it got
anything
more
can be
garbage
done
or
or if
less
we're
garbage?
really screwed.
Did she help out or not?
Also, I want to be sure you're on the right side.
I didn't put anything in there. I haven't done anything.
I haven't put anything in there.
Me neither.
All right. Put that
The
one
initial
out.
card that I put in, which is the only correct card.
Oh, God, how did things get worse?
Worse?
Well, I didn't put
Who said
anything
they
in,
couldn't
you
get
did.
worse.
It wasn't
They
that
got
bad the
worse.
last time I looked.
It's bad.
She can only look at 3 cards.
It's really bad.
How bad is bad?
Really bad. I can help by getting rid of a bad card with a slightly less
thought he
bad
said
Go
card.
and you
couldn't
research
help.
since he said he.
No, he said he couldn't help when
No,
he
he
said
said he
that.
couldn't help.
Which
No,
is why he was researching.
Something's
investigating.
fishy on the opposite
All right,
corner.
I'll give you everything. I had 2 bad cards, no turn cards, and I had 1 garbage card that wouldn't help.
It won't
But
detract.
is better than a bad card. I
Okay.
saw 2 bad cards in there. I pulled one out, put the garbage one in. That's the best I could do. I couldn't put a positive one in.
So I can't trigger this with a good card.
I can.
I can research.
There is at least
You have a
one.
good card?
I do
There is
one.
at least one opposing symbol in there.
All right, let's see if I can find it.
But we need 4 successes.
Did you get one of these?
I did not, please.
Oh, make that man insane.
How crazy is you?
Oh,
Yeah, I
goodness.
know. He's the fishy.
After
He's
gambling,
very
Oh, I
good.
trust him entirely. What do you think of investigating?
after gambling, I have to choose another player to take an insanity card.
Oh.
So doesn't Chris have the same thing?
No, I have contributing.
Or after you contribute,
After I
you give some-
contribute, I give somebody crazy talent.
I don't want to be.
And when gambling, I may not look at the Mythos cards drawn.
So it's a real gamble.
Whoa.
That's another insanity.
That's,
Okay, there are now
that's-
3 successes and a neutral. I removed a polar opposite.
So he says.
Interesting.
So I say that he said that I said.
Right.
I
We also don't know what the mystery card
yeah,
is.
I still don't know.
Despite the fact that they were all kinds, like before, when they got around to me, they were all bad in there, so.
I mean, we spent an hour getting it right, but
When I looked
Ah.
at it, there was at least 3 good cards in there. How did it turn so bad?
I don't know.
Well, you replaced a card, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that explains some of it.
I really thought it was Dan at that point because Jesse ended up investigating and saying that there was not good cards. I'm like, I know I put down a good card, so and there's only like 2 people before me, so it has to be him or it was Aaron. And I'm like, I don't think it's Aaron. So I assumed it was Dan.
What are you doing, Chris? So you can just incriminate yourself?
I'm starting to wonder if you weren't right from the very beginning.
I told you. I told you.
Oh, investigating is pointless because I only get to look at 3 cards again.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
I'm gonna prepare for the next round and I'm gonna research.
Get some crazy.
Enjoy your crazy.
So I finally have some cards that I can put down that will damage the efforts. And since I go right after Crystal, I can pretend that it's her that's doing it. So the problem is absolutely everybody is investigating as they go around the table. So I not only don't know who's helping and who's hurting because I can't count that many cards, but we can't get enough bad cards down to make enough effort before it flips over and it ruins the game. I can help.
All right, you got to play that face up. That's
Oh.
the trigger
No, it's
card.
face down.
Yeah, that
Oh,
one's
it's
face down. The trigger
This
card
comes in
comes up.
face up.
Okay.
Do not be a B. Do not be a B. Do not be a B. It's a box.
So it's not.
Box is okay though.
Box
Box is neutral, so let's see what we got in there.
All right, fingers crossed.
All right. Who's a dirty cultist? We only had 1 plus the mystery card is what we had. or,
3 successes, a new.
but like 3 of you
So many
investigate in a
sets.
row.
Yeah. I took a bad one out and put a middle one in, and then he claims to have replaced a bad one with a good one.
Let's see where we're at.
And if you put in a good one, we should be good.
1,
That's one.
That's mine.
Of course that one.
So he says.
2,
3, 4 is
Yeah,
what
we
we
should be good.
need.
Sorry, it's upside down.
5.
and another beast.
A beast I'll
Yee.
take.
I apologize. Okay. I was
No
gonna-
negatives.
No negatives.
Oh, wow. Whew.
Let us review.
All right.
All right.
Interesting. So we had 2 beasts,
Gift for 2.
and then.
Oh, no, there's only 1.
There's
Yeah.
only
Oh,
one
the other
beast
one
in
wasn't,
there.
okay.
Don't scare me like that.
I can,
And when I contribute, I have to give somebody an insanity card. So, Crystal, would you have some insanity, please?
thanks. Thanks.
An extra.
Interesting. If you are
Okay.
out of Mythos cards at the start of your turn, draw 3 cards. Your action must make an accusation.
What? If you run out of cards, you have to make an accusation?
Yes.
Oh, man. Okay,
All right.
so obviously the only god we can go after is Nodens, which is perfect because I spent like a couple of
That's-
turns last round pulling all of those cards out of the last
Yeah,
one.
that's what
So,
that's what I had before.
I
so.
only wish I could put in more than one. So, okay.
There's a message coming from your
oh,
boss.
oh, okay.
Your boss is
Oh,
calling.
was that Cthulhu? Hello? Okay.
Yes, Master.
Cthulhu baby.
Didn't know he spoke in English. All right. All right, I'm putting that one in.
You putting this one in?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I should have
That is
probably
good to
been
go.
using this. Oh, well.
You have the object for a reason.
You forgot to use this.
That's okay. We'll start now.
Is that research?
Almost as sane as I can be.
Mm-hmm.
Tick.
I can only accuse players on either side of me now.
I think that's quite convenient,
Well,
actually.
Did you play a card there?
Yes,
you
Miss
did.
Crystal?
I contributed.
You trust
So I could use my mask to swap out a random card. Oh, it'd be random though. Say I could just snatch her card right out of there.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know.
All right.
her. Some trust issues
I
here
told
at
you the
the
last one was
Yes.
correct.
Russ.
In fairness.
Well, I'm going to contribute then.
I'm gonna investigate this shit.
You had to be very careful of when you decided to contribute and when you decided to swap out a card investigating, because also with things that you're saying during the game, like, oh, I can't help very much or something, you had to make sure you weren't going to get caught. And I tried very hard to keep throwing that off, and then Aaron wasn't helping me because by this point he's starting to really cue in on that I'm it. So now I'm trying to defend myself and throw it on him.
What's this guy's special?
What's
It is beasts do not cause players to take insanity.
Oh, so feel free to put beast cards in if you have
Well,
It's a
I
good
did
pup.
put them in.
if they're helpful.
them. Yeah.
No, all beasts.
Nothing but beast.
You all a bunch of liars. All y'all.
We can't all be cultists.
I didn't put anything in.
Put the bee in.
You all liars. This is bad.
Do we trust
Yeah,
her though?
no, we don't.
This is really bad.
No, I don't
Bad
trust her.
for who?
No, I don't trust her for a second.
I know it's the right card, so it's not me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sorry. What time do you have over there?
Somebody's
Jesse
a
is-
liar.
Jesse is such a cultist.
It's past 6 o'clock, so we can start accusing.
But you can't accuse me.
It's risky though. Yeah.
It is risky because
He can
Somebody
accuse you.
is a
CJ can
liar.
only accuse you or Jesse.
we don't really need
I
the
mean,
time.
as long as we investigate the crap out of everything. it
I'm
seems
gonna
to be going
investigate.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
It's
move.
bad, Dave. Please confirm.
It's
with
bad
me.
because
them
it's
all.
bad because she
Don't
made
look
it.
at them all.
Don't look at them all.
There's one. There you go.
Does he
I'm trying to
lose?
stop. I'm like,
All right, I saw these 2, so we'll just put those 2 back.
oh, you can only look at two.
I can only look at 2.
Yeah.
Oh.
Definitely don't look at them all.
Yeah, don't look
What
at them
do you
all.
think? They good?
It's not bad. Not good.
Good.
I mean, it's
Well,
a,
not good is not.
It's not opposite. Is what you're saying?
It's not, yeah.
Okay, it's not opposite.
Not good is still not good.
What I saw was
Because
bad.
if it's not a polar opposite, then it's
I'm
not
gonna
as bad.
swap out this.
All right.
I'm not out of cards, so okay. And I'm going to use this. So I move that to 2.
Draw two.
Draw two.
Well, you should have been doing this all along.
Exactly, that's why I was like, why
He
am
can
I
take
taking
two
this?
insanities and pick one.
Doesn't he have to
Ooh.
discard that
Oh.
after use?
Apparently, they're both bad based on the facial expression.
Both the bloody same.
Oh. Which one you gonna choose?
Now investigating is pretty pointless for me.
You got at least three?
You can investigate one card.
Dave, you're the worst investigator.
Are you going to investigate?
What are you doing here?
I'm deciding whether to investigate or contribute.
I'm helping.
If you're going to investigate, I will contribute. Otherwise, I'm investigating.
Oh, that was the other way around.
No.
Wait a minute.
I just want to make sure somebody has a look because I'm very suspicious of Jessica right now.
You're always suspicious of me.
This time, I think it's justified.
I'm always suspicious
But
of
you've
you.
been very,
Yeah.
you've been very investigating over there.
I don't know, from what I saw and the amount of cards and people that went before me, somebody's a liar.
From the two cards I saw,
Yeah.
it wasn't that bad.
Sure.
And what I saw,
I can't-
more than one person was a liar.
I can't make it better,
Can't make it better.
but I can't, well, I could make it worse,
There were
but I'm
some
not gonna
polar
make it
opposites,
worse.
and only like one good
Well,
guy.
I mean, you might be able to take a polar opposite card out and replace it with a garbage.
Correct.
thing. That would be better than nothing at all. But I have a
Or
couple of
take out the one you
options
put
here.
in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna add a good one. If you want to investigate, you can. So, we're on the last gate, and it's really intense. I'm not sure who the bad guys are. At this point, I know that, or at least I think I know that Jessie is a cultist. She's been pushing really hard to put the blame at my door, which just makes me even more sure that she's the real thing. But any suspicion I might have had towards Dan kind of evaporated because Crystal took his turn for him and could see that he was telling the truth. And so she vouched for him, and I was kind of leaning towards him. So that leads me to suspect that CJ is the other cultist, but I have nothing to back that on except process of elimination. So the fact that they go one after the other is not great, and the fact that Dave can't do anything about it isn't great either. He's just too insane in the membrane. But I think we're gonna get this done.
Oh, now it's if I want to.
Yeah.
If you're not
do whatever
busy,
you want.
if you don't
I
mind.
can't stop you.
I put in a puppy.
You said beasts were okay.
Oh, how sad.
All right.
And then help us out. What do we got?
He's
Are we-
barely had a chance to
Are we
look
staring
at
down the
it.
barrel of the gun?
See, I told you.
We have two successes.
And how many polar opposites
None now.
that you know of?
Tick.
We got 3 hours left.
I can't help it all, and my investigating is a little.
It's a little skewed. Is it work?
Get some
I'm
new
gonna
cards.
Research.
Get Joe crazy.
Get some polar opposites
Okay.
in the
We're
hand.
good.
mhm.
Okay, we're good.
Let's see here. We could gamble.
If you're not a cultist, then you investigate.
Oh,
you
it
don't
doesn't
see a
trigger
dog,
on this
Right.
one,
then you
so
know
you're
that somebody
fine.
took out the good card.
Kind of.
No, I think.
So
You're
there's only
prob-
two successes,
You're
right?
probably not fine.
Yeah.
I said two.
You said 2.
Two successes.
Oh, yeah, he said two.
Right.
Never mind.
But I
You're
can't.
not fine.
Yeah, exactly. But I was gonna say I can't help, so wouldn't do any good to investigate. You just assume you're all liars at this point.
Research.
Yeah, research it is. Well, this isn't gonna help anyway, so I'll discard that. 1, 2, 3. And a little insanity for me,
Just a little.
just a touch.
Just a smidge.
I know you all liars.
So fix it.
Or you could be the liar. Just throwing it out there.
You're
One
the
of.
liar.
I'm not the liar.
You're always the liar.
I'm not the
She's
liar.
investigating?
Not
Alright.
the liar.
I'm gonna invest.
Could be one of the
She's gonna make
liars.
it worse. She's 100% gonna make it worse.
You have little face.
100%. She's gonna take all the cards out and
Yes.
Round and round we
remember
go,
you can't
yeah.
look at all of them. Thank you. Okay.
I'm not Dave.
Okay.
Dave, who can now not look at
Don't
any of
blame
them.
Dave. Dave is so insane at this point that
He's come
he
unhinged.
can't help
You
it.
said 2 successes?
Yes. Let me investigate.
Is there? Yeah.
Okay, now we've like investigated 15 times in a row. Dave has entirely lost his mind. It is incapable of giving us any information about what's in the incantation. So if he's a cultist, it's impossible to tell because he's so out of his mind. I don't think he is, but it's hard to tell.
But he also didn't know what the hidden card was. Yeah.
Well, that part's true. She doesn't know what the hidden card
Yeah.
is either.
I helped fix it.
I doubt that. I'm sorry.
very much.
Starting to be filled
Doubt
with
that
doubt.
very much.
So we get to the last round, and Aaron's really laying it on me that I'm the cultist. And I mean, I am, but I'm trying to get to everyone else at the table to believe that it's Aaron, because he's really the only other one that I'm going to accuse at this point. No one's going to believe me if I start randomly saying somebody else. I honestly was thinking Crystal was my person, because she kept giving me looks across the table, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, you really helped. You added a card.
Good job.
Hold on,
Good
let me
job.
pull that back.
And I'm supposed to be the crazy one.
Let me swap that for 2 bad cards. And
Yes. Your insanity is, whenever
one
you
back.
swap, you don't actually swap. You just.
I swapped. Dave, you can investigate and
No, he
He
can't.
Have you met Dave?
you cannot rely on him for
He
anything
can
at
look
this point.
at. Well, he can look at
2 cards.
2 cards.
Dave can look at 2 out of those 5.
Dave, just gamble and
I
get
can
this
tell
over
you
with.
there are 2 cards in here.
Take a look at 2 of
Dave,
them.
can you
I
contribute?
maybe remove
No.
one of those for you.
All right.
But my insanities, by the end of the game, I could investigate 3 cards less, because the one you can automatically not see. So my investigation was pointless unless it was like 6 cards. Even then, didn't really help that much.
Based on my immense distrust of Jesse, I have to investigate.
Whatever.
I don't know. You've
I
been
still-
investigating
You know
a
what?
lot, though.
I still have a good card to put in.
You know what?
Good for
I
you.
hope
Wait, you
I
do?
prove you
Yes.
wrong. I
How
hope I
how
prove
did you?
wrong.
Because at the start of this round, I had a handful of them.
So I think Jesse keeps investigating and messing things up, but it's hard to say. I'm checking out stuff, and it seems to match what Aaron's saying, so he's probably okay, but then Jesse makes some valid points about Aaron, and I haven't played with any of these people before because they just threw me into a van and dragged me here. So it's possible I was wrong about Jesse, but I don't know. Pretty sure about Crystal, though.
Okay.
He's a
Shuffle.
liar.
Okay.
See?
Yeah,
He's
shuffle.
like-
Yeah, I
he's
almost
like
made the same
contradicted
mistake.
himself
I
several
apologize for
times.
giving
Did
you
you
crap.
still need
I need
cards?
2 cards.
And insanity?
And give me 2 insanities.
No.
Oh, Lord.
That's the new one. You cannot hold on to your insanity card.
All the crazy.
He's so crazy you can't even contain it.
That's an opposite.
Please don't be the same. Please don't
That's
be the
good,
same.
that's good, that's good. Okay, there's only one bad here. Maybe Jesse's on the level. I took the bad one out, I put a good one in.
Or is Aaron not on the level? Is my
All 4 of these are good. He can investigate if he doesn't believe me.
So the last round, every single time I investigated, swapped out cards, I completely made that deck horrible, and everyone kept investigating, going, "Oh, this is really bad," and I was like, "Yes!" But that didn't work out because all of a sudden it came back around to me. I investigated, and I made the mistake of saying, "I cannot help with the cards in my hand." And when I did that and I investigated, I could no longer make the entire deck that went from awful to the world is not going to end and we are not going to be eaten by a horrible monster. And now they're saving the world, and I couldn't do anything to stop it. I could have delayed it a little bit more, which was kind of my investigating part, but that was about it.
okay?
I just took a bad one out.
I'm gonna take your turn for you.
Oh, shit.
Sorry.
Oh, she has a voodoo doll.
Use my cards.
Take another player's
She
turn
actually
for them.
uses your card.
Use
I'm
their
being manipulated by her.
cards for your insanity.
Oh my goodness.
Crystal, help us out.
She's a cultist.
She's a cultist. She's
Help
not
us
gonna
out
help
anyway.
out.
Oh yeah, that's true. So if you have,
I'm discarding your thing. You can pick up two more.
so Crystal has the ability, apparently, to put a pin in Dan and make Dan do her bidding, and that's not good because she's kind of eliminated suspicion on herself and Dan at the same time. That's really skewed my plans, and I don't know if this is going to work out anymore.
Mom,
You
maybe
picked
she's
terrible
not a good.
cards.
They were horrible.
Okay, so Crystal uses the voodoo doll on me, and which means she takes over my turn, and I have nothing but crappy cards, and I'm sure she's a cultist, because why else would she take the turn away from me? And then she doesn't put any of the crappy cards in the incantation, so I'm like, whoa, maybe she's not a cultist. I have no idea who the other one is. None. Pretty sure Jessie is.
I know.
She's telling the truth.
I don't trust you. The time was ticking down. It was pretty close to midnight, and I knew this was our last gate, and I wanted to make sure that we could complete it in time. So I wanted to use my voodoo doll, and I thought Dan was the cultist, so I wanted to take his turn. And as soon as I saw his hand, and it was all terrible, I was like, all right, well, I can't help the situation, so he's just not going to get a turn right now. So I thought if he was the cultist, I helped out. If he wasn't the cultist, I still helped out, because no harm, no foul. And then I'm going to contribute.
Boy, I'm really lucky with this.
CJ, if you have a good card.
We didn't advance the clock.
And I know it
Oh,
might
no,
be-
now it's your turn.
Yeah, I just contributed.
Okay, so now we advanced the clock. That was
So we got two.
2 turns to figure this out.
There were 4 good cards in there when I put
And
it
I
down.
add another one, I promise.
If you trust.
You can investigate and prove it, I promise.
But then it has to get past Jesse.
Yeah, then it has to get past Jesse.
She just helped last time.
No, she didn't.
Last time.
But somebody did.
Somebody put a bad card in there.
Somebody.
No, there was already bad
All right,
cards in
so-
there.
I just know I can't help. I can't hurt.
I can't help, so.
Yeah, I can't help. That's the problem.
I am useless.
All right, I will investigate. I don't have anything against investigating. No,
No, and what do you,
I'll
Is he
investigate.
the other cultist?
Because if everything's cool, then
Aaron
everything's cool.
normally acts that way when he's the, awful person, so
X what way?
the way that he's acting.
Yeah, that's
coming
classic
from
Aaron.
a cultist, I don't doubt
That's
that.
classic
Yeah.
Aaron
Thank you.
cultist talk.
Thank
I'll
you.
put it right
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
I'll just
Yeah.
trigger it next turn and
Yeah.
see what's going on.
You have better odds of investigating that way.
I'll be able to see
How's
3
it
cards this time.
You're sure Crystal's on the low?
There's somebody's not on the level.
I told you somebody is lying.
Most of this is good. Somebody's not on the level.
What if it's husband and wife?
It
No,
could
we
be.
don't work
We'd
well
be
together.
terrible together.
But the
you met
cultists
us?
don't know who each other
I was saying,
are.
have you not met us?
So you can put in a not terrible card and it doesn't negatively affect it as long as it's not an opposite.
As long as you're not taking out a good one.
Yeah, as
Right.
long as you're not taking out a good one.
Yeah, you can swap it with
All
him.
right, so I am
Could this
going
be
to.
the first time this weekend the investigators win?
All right, so everything
We have
is,
some very
Unless
lazy
CJ just
cultists.
screwed us.
no, everything is just fine.
Jesse does.
You can trust your old pal CJ.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Some serious investigation.
Yeah,
Here's where she puts the screw in.
that's what I was saying, that's where she puts in the last
Where
bad
she
card.
puts the
This
screw
is
in.
where, no.
We have a few hours left. There's so much investigating going on. I think we might run out of time, but I think we're okay. It looks like maybe the 2 cultists are a little trapped and they aren't able to wriggle out. Still not sure who the second one is, but pretty sure it's Jessie, but there's no point in voting right now because I think we're going to create this seal. We can deal with her later.
And since oh no, because I investigated, so it doesn't matter. I have double, oh man, I can't contribute. If I contribute,
I can't.
all my insanity is contribute effects.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah. If this round goes by and comes back to me without this gate settling one way or the other, my plan is to accuse Crystal and have everybody vote. If she is an investigator and she's not the other cultist, the good news is that'll move the clock right to 11 o'clock, and that will be the last round that anybody has to do anything. Just gotta survive one more round.
Are they in cahoots?
Somebody's actually
Well, it
telling
wouldn't have
the
mattered
truth.
because I would have put the bad card in and then she would have took it out if that
No,
was the
no,
case.
triggering with.
Gamble?
Somebody's
to trigger
actually
it?
telling the truth.
You can't look at them though, right?
Yeah, I can.
No, I can't. Yeah, I can't.
I can't either.
He's the blind gambler.
I just figured it was all
Roll
your
the dice. Tell me what they say.
Ooh, this could be game.
Oh,
It is
come on,
game.
please.
Dave, here's the honors.
My dog better still be in here.
I didn't. Was it your dog?
Oh, you threw a literal puppy in there. When you said that.
That's what you sacrifice to the elder gods.
He said he put a dog in there.
All right,
It's
one
two good ones.
success.
Two.
Tough to do
Oh,
since
yeah,
it is
two.
one in the game, but
It's fun.
So that's three
Three.
successes. Four successes. Doesn't hurt, doesn't help. Five
oh,
successes.
we're good.
We're good.
Six successes.
Oh my goodness!
What happened to the cultists?
So it gets to Dave, and unfortunately, he's going to end the game. I investigated on my turn, and I managed to swap a not opposite but not beneficial card in there, but it's not enough. There's a ton of good cards. Everything I held in my hand was positive. I don't think there's any way, unless there's another cultist before the end that can interject a card, which there's not.
Should everybody
I
reveal?
fucked myself.
You're a horrible cultist. Who was the other cultist?
I was 100% investigator.
It was Crystal.
It was
It was CJ. I knew it. Boom! Nailed it. And I was right. I knew she was a cultist. I knew it. I knew it. CJ, I'm kind of surprised. He had me fooled for like 3/4 of the game plus. It was only towards the end I started to get suspicious, but man, that was tight.
Forgot.
The problem I had was every time I had a chance to sabotage, we were going after the wrong guy. Like the cards in my hand didn't help. Sabotaging them.
And,
I
and
can't.
every time that I had it, somebody else, like, only like one person put a card in. So then I was like, okay, well, if I totally screw it up, then they're going to know that it was
Right.
me or the other person.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I was trying to sabotage Crystal.
The seed card.
In the very worst of scenarios, the other cultist was Jesse, and immediately to my left, which makes, when you put double suspicion next to each other, one of you's in trouble. Fortunately, they were on her, and I had Crystal focused, and I was in the middle looking innocent, but I couldn't negatively impact the game beyond that, unfortunately. So we ultimately were kind of crappy cultists.
he was my person, and we did not do very well.
And you were working so hard to throw me under the bus the
I
whole game.
was. I was.
My suspicions didn't really change throughout the game. I was kind of always suspicious of Crystal. My suspicion between Aaron and Jesse kind of wobbled a bit. The cultist that I was not suspicious of was Chris. I did not suspect Chris, but I think that might have been the fact we had two cultists right in a row. So it's just the thought of like having two in a row, and they were bad. They were really bad cultists. You're a bad cultist. And even though I couldn't investigate for garbage,
I really thought the other cultist was Crystal. I didn't think it was Chris.
I had a secret problem,
leave me
so I
hanging
was
this
glad that you didn't accuse anyone because I had to vote yes.
I had, show this after you were accused and before a vote, and if the investigators are wrong, you would lose 3 hours instead of 2.
Oh!
Yeah.
But we were pretty sure.
I was really waiting for Aaron to accuse me.
I was like, we had enough time. If we had to go another round, I definitely would have accused you. But as it was, I had 5, no sanity losses.
I had 3
None.
of those.
I only
I
had
had
two.
2.
Well, clearly.
With as many insanity cards as I had, by the end, I could no longer even trust myself. So that made things a little bit interesting.
Just a little bit of madness for
And
Dave.
I would like
got
to
all the
point
good
out
ones.
that when we did the first one, I legit threw down the right card.
I did too. I
On
helped the
purpose?
first
Just
round.
to slow
I didn't
play?
have anything
Hold on.
else to.
Yeah,
I didn't.
so,
Well, that was my one problem, was I didn't have anything else
so you
that
could
would have
always
really.
research or.
really done
So
it.
the thing you can do is delay.
Okay, it succeeded as it seemed to go. One of the things is there's enough in this game with some of the advanced rules we use that a second time through, I think people would have a different idea how to play it and kind of have to break some of the habits that they have from some of the other games. And it would probably be more difficult. That's just how this goes. And I played it, this is the first time this weekend that the investigators won, but in fairness, all the people that played it over this weekend had played it before, and so they were learning some of the tricks, and they were nasty buggers. Now hopefully I can get out of these ropes and get back to my house. I don't know if they're gonna let me go. Did the ransom money come in?
Slow down the pace
I
of the
did
game.
want to delay, but it was the first round, and if I had done anything else, somebody would have been
No,
like,
reason-
immediate, you're the cultist.
No, research, or research is a delay, that, hey, I just don't have any good cards, or investigate is a delay, even if you don't swap out anything, you're not advancing the
Yeah.
incantation. The game is slanted towards the cultists.
Well, you were bad cultists.
So,
We don't work well together.
I was-
Next time, give me like a nudge or something.
We're from cults from 2 different countries.
I thought Dan was the cultist the entire time. That's why I took his turn for him. Because I trusted Jesse, which I should know better, but I did not. So I did.
You're from this side of Jersey.
well,
Like the only one that
You're
was
from the
really
Black
super paying
Brotherhood
attention to
and-
me was Aaron, and I was like, what the hell?
you're from the Covenant, one of you was the,
I enjoyed the game as a whole. CJ and Jesse, as a pair of married cultists, I'll say this. They kept their cult life very, very secret, even from each other, because they did not know that they were both cultists. So, in that regards, they were good to their characters, but just not a good team.
government of Azov.
I'm the Black Brotherhood. Dave!
We do not accept you into our fold.
Come on, you don't want a white female?
You're a little too pale for that.
White
You'll,
sisterhood.
you'll never pass. The delegation.
There's an exam, written exam. You're not gonna pass the written exam.
I actually very much enjoyed the game. I do like the fact that there are other aspects of the game where you can choose to have more cultists and a couple different investigators. There's a couple advanced rules. We didn't get to actually play this game, but I think it adds a very different aspect to it all around. But it was a very enjoyable game, very much replayability, and I like the object of having insanity cards. They can really make your personal gameplay completely different. Or you can have cards like I had where you didn't have any insanity. And if you were accused, I actually had a kind of like an attack card on that. But definitely an enjoyable game.
With the additional rules that were explained, like how you could have a different number of cultists, you might have no cultists, you might have like all cultists but one. I think that would bring in a lot of depth and replayability to the game. Not that it doesn't have replayability already, but just the fact that you could go into a game where you think, okay, there's going to be 2 cultists, and there's going to be the rest of us are investigators, and it really be, oh, I'm the only real investigator, or everybody's a cultist, and you don't want to out yourself as a cultist. Like those additional rules, I think will make it really fun to play around with.
I think they did terrible as cultists. Jesse was a little bit good at like throwing me off, but other than that, they could have destroyed us if they tried hard at all, I think. No offense.
Super looking forward to playing this again. Although next time I'd like to be a cultist. I think that'd be fun.
As far as the game goes, I think it's absolutely brilliant. It has a lot of different mechanics to it that really add to the tension. Games like Coup and Secret Hitler, you kind of have even-ish teams. I like that this has a mechanic where you can add or subtract to that without necessarily knowing how many good guys or villains you have. So maybe I'll be an investigator next time and I can figure out who the cultist is. We'll see.
Thank you so much for.
There was a question you asked. Oh, the Necronomicon.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what happens is, let's say that one failed. Mathematically, it can get to a point where there's just not enough turns to trigger, and you know the game would be over. And so before we had this, it would just sort of peter out, like, oh, we can't win. And it's sort of a crappy ending to a game.
Right.
So instead, what we have is you can vote to consult, and I would have said yes, because I had to. And then somebody needs to volunteer to open the book.
Okay.
Whoever volunteers to open the book draws 3 insanity cards. Because it was not a good idea to peer into the Necronomicon. But once they do, they open the book, and then everyone refills their hands. If you out-occultist while the book is open, you gain an hour back. And then it modifies the rules of the incantation in some way. And I think there's 9 or 10 different ways. And this one, Mythos cards placed in spots 2, 4, and 6 are placed face up. So probably advantageous to the investigators. However, if this particular incantation fails, the game is over, the cultists win. So there's a definitive ending, but if you're desperate, this is what you got.
If it's your last ditch effort, you
Yeah.
have
And
to
the
do
real
it.
challenge of it is, there's 6 cards, and you're not sure if you have enough to succeed, but you think Dave's the cultist and it's your
Sure.
turn, you better trigger it, because at that point, if it fails, the game's over, so you know Dave can just go, aha, it fails, it doesn't matter that he's a cultist because the game's over.
Right.
So you may have to gamble, do some high-risk thing, or if the gangster's in the game, or the voodoo doll, you can take over his turn, or force him to do something, and maybe get to the next person, who hopefully is not a cultist. But
You have a pretty decent odds.
it actually it gets rid of that problem of there not being a definitive ending.
Right.
So usually it works out that way.
Yeah.
The investigators winning is a definitive ending, so that's fine that way too.
Wow. Well, thank you so much
Yes,
for
thank
doing
you.
this.
Yes,
Well, I
and
had
this
no
was-
choice.
We appreciate it all the same.
Just because your ankle's shackled to the chair doesn't mean.
You guys should get a picture of some of these cards.
We will.
So you
And
can
we also,
get it.
so we were the only investigators to win the game.
This weekend, yeah.
There had been a streak going previous, like the last 3 times before, the investigators have been winning. But
I so badly wanted to lay down like the opposite one for this one, but when I did the investigating and I saw that like it was already gonna succeed, I was like, oh, I can't do that. I have to wait for it to go around again.
yeah, I mean, the other live playthrough we did, both investigators actually gave themselves up to do that kind of thing. And I'm like making this big deal about it. It's never a good idea, and they ended up winning. It was a good idea, because,
Well, it does take the pressure off.
well,
of it, I guess.
I blew that one, and maybe we'll get over it someday, but I was too much in a hurry I made the same mistake that people do, or used to the other kind of hidden role games, which is, okay, we'll out this one and get an hour back, and we'll out that one and get an hour back. But while we were doing that, we weren't doing anything here.
Right.
And you're not eliminated from the game, so they're
Yeah.
throwing in junk.
Yeah, there's no reason to
And
hold
we-
back at that point.
Right, so we should have actually put in our cards that we could have, and then maybe
Right.
just outed one of them.
Right.
But I got too eager to get the time back, and we ended up having plenty of time, but we failed that incantation, which lost us the game.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
I really like your studio, it's
yeah.
awesome.
it's fantastic.
It's a lot like a theater.
We're
University
Like
of
on a
borrowing.
stage.
So yeah, the Gate of Roulier. The Kickstarter ends this Saturday. What date is that?
April 28th, but then we'll have a link that you can still order after.
You can still, okay.
It's set up so that you go to the Kickstarter page, you can still pre-order it.
And when are you looking for the game to come out?
We're saying October right now.
October.
It might be a
Good
little-
timing, October.
That's fantastic.
It might be a little earlier, but you never know with
Wow.
shipping and other delays.
Absolutely
making-
fantastic.
It's the first time we're doing punch-out altars, and so we want to make sure those are correct. So there could be a couple delays there, but
It plays great.
Yeah.
I had an absolute blast.
Yeah, this is really cool. How many players does this play up to?
so it's 4 to 8 players.
4 to 8 players.
It's probably best in the 6, 7 Well, 5 is fine too, but I like high player counts
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
so-
this would be fun to surround the table with,
Oh,
for
yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
And with 8, there's 3 cultists. Now, there's a few optional rules we didn't use, so there's 2 insanity cards that you can mix in. One says now you're an investigator, one says now you're a cultist, so you could switch in the middle of the game.
Cult is so insane, it goes straight.
It seems like a good idea, maybe. There's another one where
They show you the face of Cthulhu and you go, oh.
That is a bad idea. You're absolutely right.
It does throw the math off a little bit, but it's kind of wild. The other one I really like a lot is you put in an extra investigator card, depending on the player count, or an extra investigator and extra cultist card, and you deal them out and throw the other ones in the box, and you don't know how many cultists there are.
Interesting.
So if there's 2 or 3, and it just sort of doubles the paranoia, because you're like, okay, I think I know.
Yeah,
which
yeah, I
one.
can see that being very
If
intense.
you're the lone investigator and everybody else is a cop, it's just like, what is going on?
Someday, I didn't want to do it on
Everybody's
your show, but someday I'm gonna give everyone a cultist card, and I'm pretty sure you wouldn't know. Right, till the end of the game.
Right.
No,
It's
my
actually true.
goodness.
Like, oh my God, we haven't succeeded one of these. What is, I don't trust it. And you put out a big show. You might even make some accusations.
Yeah, that could be a lot of fun. That could be a lot of fun.
But you don't want to. So there's some. I'm trying to think. There's another. So there's those couple of optional rules will break some of the math, but they can be a lot of fun, especially if people learn how to play it right. Because it's possible that you end up with like one cultist. With both of those things mixed in, you could have a situation where there's one cultist and 8 players, and that's pretty tough.
Poor guy.
Yeah. So.
Or you have a bunch of people that all know how to play, and the new person comes in, and they make them the
Yeah.
investigator just go insane, because they're like,
We-
why?
Yeah, we won it at 6 o'clock. But